this is my favourite read of 2024 so far out of, I think, 70 books I've read so far this year. Hello my lovely friends, welcome back to Francesca's Books. My name is Francesca, these are my books, and here we talk about all things thriller books. And today we have a very exciting video because this author spotlight features arguably my favourite author of all time. I try not to choose actual favourite authors, but when you watch this video you'll understand that all of these books are so amazing, like it's almost impossible for her to not be, at least in my top 3. And of course the author we are talking about is the lovely Clare Mackintosh. So Clare is a British author and she has 6 books out at the moment on her backlist and they're all thrillers. She has 4 standalone psychological thrillers and 2 like detective thrillers, and I'm going to go through them all with you now. So these are ranked from my least favourite to most favourite, but I'm going to caveat this by saying I love them all and I would recommend all of them. Literally all of them. Like even my least favourite I would recommend. That's how you know you found a good author. So coming in at number 6 is Hostage. This is a standalone psychological thriller and it follows Mina, who is cabin crew and experiences a hostage situation at 38,000 feet. This book's told from multiple points of view, so it's told from Mina's point of view, which is like the main perspective, like as cabin crew, but it's also told from her husband's point of view, which I thought was really interesting. And then also there's like random chapters from passengers on the plane, but they're only identified by their seat number, which I think is really, really cool. So it says here like passenger 5J and that's all you know about them. I've never seen that done in a book before. So the main premise is that our female main character is being threatened that she needs to like partake in this act of terrorism to save her child as opposed to like saving the whole plane. This was a very, very tense read that I probably would not read on a plane. I think that would be quite extreme, but it was fantastic. I gave this 4 star. The dual timelines really, really worked for me and I definitely didn't see the ending coming. And then next up at number 5 is Let Me Lie. This was the most recent Clare book that I've actually read. This was the last one on her backlist that I had to complete and I put it off for so long because I just really didn't want to finish her backlist. So this follows our female main character Anna, whose parents both alive themselves about a year ago, and a year later Anna's like done grieving and she's like, do you know what, this actually just wouldn't happen, like they're not those kind of people, and she just kind of starts to investigate. So she digs into these mysterious deaths but basically just wishes that she'd never bothered. There is so many dark secrets in this book. Like it's one of those that just keeps giving and giving and giving and you're like, how much worse can this possibly get for our female main character? It's also told from dual point of view, so it's Anna's perspective, which is like the main perspective, and then it's of Detective Murray as well. And the most amazing thing that Clare Mackintosh does in all of her books, including her psychological thrillers, is she writes detectives with like such like heart and like such a backstory, and you're rooting for them like as a character, not just as a detective, because I feel like so many authors write detectives as like this copy and paste like character and I just cannot stand it, and that's what puts me off like detective books. And normally I hear the word detective and I'm like immediately no, like immediately no, but Clare Mackintosh is the only author that I can read and really, really enjoy. So as well as that, there's also like a third narrative and we're not sure who the voice is of that narrative, which makes it like even more tense. So I gave this one 4 star as well. It definitely wasn't like my favourite Clare Mackintosh, obviously, as it ranked number 5, but I did enjoy it, would recommend it, like brilliant thriller book. So next up, coming in at like joint 3 and 4, are Clare's detective novels. So The Last Party and Game of Lies are both interconnected and you would definitely want to read The Last Party before you read Game of Lies. So I actually think I prefer The Last Party. So Game of Lies is technically 4th and this is going to be technically 3rd, but it makes more sense to like talk about them as a whole. So they both follow Detective Fionn Morgan, who lives on the Welsh side of the border, and also Leo, who lives on the English side of the border, and all these like crimes start being committed like along the border and they have to like work together to like understand what's going on. So the first book is set at these like idyllic lodges, like surrounded by this gorgeous lake. It's all very idyllic and of course somebody is unalived. I'm not sure whether Clare intended like these detective stories to be a series, but I think if she did it would make a lot more sense because there is a bit of setup in this book, and when I first started it I wasn't like 100% sure and I thought surely Clare Mackintosh hasn't failed me, but I think I did read maybe 150 pages and I was kind of like, I'm not actually sure about this book. So I think I switched to audio and listened to a little bit more, and then I could finally like get into it after maybe 200 pages. So don't let that put you off because I still rated this really highly and it's still like my 3rd favourite book. I'm so glad I persisted with it, but there's a lot of backstory for like Fionn's character and Leo's character, which works really well having read both the books. But I think if you were like reading this as a standalone, it would make less sense, if that makes sense. So the little community this book is set in, Fionn actually grew up in, so she basically knows all the suspects. She knows the guy that was unalived. It's all very close to home. I absolutely loved the Welsh representation in this book and I adore Fionn Morgan, our female main character. She is just so badass, such a character I can get behind, just love her. So then that brings me on to Game of Lies, which is the 2nd book in the Fionn Morgan series, but probably like my 4th in this ranking. And this follows a reality TV show. So you're still following Fionn and you're still following Leo, but this time they're investigating like a different and crime. So the action in this one starts a lot earlier than The Last Party, and the survival show gone wrong goes wrong very, very quickly. And I feel like this book was just so amazing because you knew these characters as well. So like by the end, no spoilers, but I was kicking my feet and giggling. Absolutely. The actual thriller plot as well was amazing. I really, really enjoyed these books. Like Clare Mackintosh, just absolutely, you're a queen. And then coming in at second place, another one of Clare's psychological thrillers is I See You. So this follows a woman who is on the tube one day, she opens the newspaper and she sees herself in the classified ad section and she's like, wait a minute. She brings this newspaper home and like everyone's like, oh yeah, that kind of does look like you. And she's like, no, like this literally is me. Like why is no one seeing this? So she decides to like ring the number on the ad and everything just unfolds from there. She basically gets herself involved in like a series of crimes, which is just really, really complex. And there's a lot of suspicious characters in this. I really didn't actually know who to trust in this book. This is probably one of Clare's easiest books to read. I just flew through it. Really, really easy read. I think I read it on holiday in literally like a day. Just super easy to read, super easy to understand, but like while still giving like a great amount of depth to these characters as well. There was also an amazing plot twist ending in this book. Like you will enjoy this, like I can guarantee it. So I gave this one a 4.5. So then finally taking the number one spot is of course I Let You Go. I talk about this book all the time across booktube, but also across all my other platforms as well. This is my favorite read of 2024 so far out of I think 70 books I've read so far this year, and this easily takes the top spot. This book actually came out about 10 years ago. I'm just very, very slow on the uptake, clearly, but I absolutely loved it. It was an easy 5-star from me. So this follows Jenna, whose life is absolutely shattered when a 5-year-old runs out in the road and is unalived in a hit and run. She's absolutely mortified. She basically runs away to the Welsh coast. She literally can't cope. She seeks like some sort of peace, and meanwhile the police in Bristol are like trying to investigate exactly what's happened. I feel like what really got me about this book was like the midway through twist. I love that from Clare, and other authors that like do this similarly are just like always my favorites because it just really keeps it like fresh and like you want to keep reading. This book just absolutely blew me away. Like I don't really have any more words for it than that. It was just absolutely amazing. There was like the similar detective subplot as like a couple of other of her books, but also written fantastically, really amazing, rooting for those characters as well. And I feel like this is just Clare's style that I really, really just get on board with. I honestly just wouldn't change a thing about this book. Like everyone got exactly what they deserved at the end. It was so nicely wrapped up. There was some great plot twists. Just 5-star, brilliant. So Clare also has another book coming out in January, which is the 3rd book in the Detective Fionn Morgan series. I'll see if I can find a cover here, but I'm not sure if it's actually been released yet because we're so far ahead of like her actual release day. But I am so excited to read that like beyond belief. I have already like messaged Clare on Instagram like, please, can I have an advance copy? So you never know, stranger things have happened. So let me know if you agree with my ranking of these books, if you've read any, or if you're now gonna go and read any. I would love to know. I always like to chat about my favorite authors, and also if there's any other authors that you guys are really keen to see like this style of video on, like this author spotlight style. I've already done one for Alice Feeney and Frida McFadden. This is the 3rd one that I've done, so if you'd like to see any other authors that like just really take your fancy, let me know. Also, this is absolutely in no way affiliated with Clare, her publishers, anything else. I just adore this author. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you next time, besties.